They said, if you say her name 3 times in front of a mirror, she will come. I thought it was just a game, until she whispered my name back. It was a cold and rainy Friday night, the kind that made the air heavy and the shadows in Emily's old house feel alive. Her friends, Mia, Jake, and Sarah had come over for a sleepover, and the sound of thunder rattled the windows as they sat in the living room sharing ghost stories. The flickering candlelight made every corner look deeper, and Jake, with a mischievous grin, brought up the legend of Bloody Mary. Say her name 3 times in front of a mirror, and she appear, he teased, his voice low. Emily rolled her eyes, pretending not to care, but inside, she felt a tiny nod of fear. Mia smirked and leaned forward. If you're not scared, prove it. Go upstairs and do it. Emily froze for a moment, glancing toward the dark hallway that led to the bathroom. She didn't want to look afraid in front of them, so she grabbed a flashlight and headed up the creaky wooden staircase. The old house groaned under her footsteps, and the rain outside beat harder against the roof. Reaching the small bathroom, she closed the door, the smell of damp wood surrounding her. The cracked, dusty mirror reflected her pale face as she lifted the flashlight under her chin, casting eerie shadows. Taking a deep breath, she whispered, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. For a few seconds, there was only silence, except for the rain and her heartbeat. Then, the mirror's surface seemed to ripple like disturbed water, and she heard it, a faint, cold whisper drifting through the air. Emily's breath caught in her throat, and her skin prickled as the whisper came again, softer but closer, curling her name into the air. Emily. Emily's pulse thundered in her ears as she turned away from the mirror, but something felt wrong, too wrong. The bathroom was exactly as it had been, yet the air felt heavy and cold, as if invisible ice had spread across the room. The whisper came again, this time so close it tickled the edge of her ear. Emily. She froze, her breath fogging in the dim light, and slowly turned back to face the mirror. Her reflection stood there, but it wasn't her. The face was the same shape, the same features, yet the eyes were pitch black and the lips curled into a slow, cruel smile. Emily stumbled backward, her hand fumbling for the doorknob, but it refused to turn. Downstairs, she could hear her friends calling her name, their voices strangely distant, as though coming from underwater. Her reflection moved closer in the glass, even though Emily stood frozen in place. The flashlight flickered in her trembling hand, and the shadows on the walls seemed to stretch and twist toward her. She pounded on the door, shouting for help, but her voice felt swallowed by the room itself. A sudden crack ran across the mirror's surface, splitting her reflection into jagged pieces. Yet the dark eyes stared through every fragment from beyond the glass. A pale hand pressed against the surface, the skin so white it almost glowed. The mirror didn't shatter, it rippled like a pool of black water, and the hand slowly began to push through. Emily backed into the corner, her legs trembling, her mind screaming to wake up from what felt like a nightmare. The hand reached further, fingers long and cold, brushing the air as if searching for her. And then came the voice again, sharper, deeper, and filled with hunger. You called me. Emily's back pressed hard against the cold tiled wall as the pale, icy hand emerged fully from the mirror, followed by a shadowy figure with long tangled hair that dripped as if soaked in black water. Her hollow eyes locked on Emily, and her crimson-stained lips curled into a sinister smile. You called me, and now you're mine, Bloody Mary whispered, her voice echoing unnaturally in the small room. Emily's hands shook violently as she reached for the flashlight, shining it directly at the figure, but the beam passed right through her, leaving only a ripple in the air. Mary stepped forward, her bare feet making no sound, the mirror behind her glowing faintly as though it led to another world. Emily lunged for the door, pounding with all her strength, screaming for her friends, but the wood felt unbreakable, as if fused to the frame. The temperature plummeted. Her breath hung like smoke. Mary's hand clamped around Emily's wrist, the touch like plunging into freezing water, and the room around them began to dissolve into darkness. The walls, the floor, even the light faded until all that remained was an endless space filled with mirrors stretching in every direction. In each mirror, Emily saw herself, but in some, her face was twisted, her eyes black like Mary's. She struggled, kicking and pulling, but Mary's grip only tightened. You opened the door, Mary murmured, pulling her toward the glowing mirror she had stepped from. Emily's scream echoed through the void as she was yanked inside. Moments later, the bathroom was empty, silent, as if nothing had happened. When her friends burst in, all they saw was the cracked mirror and, in its reflection, far behind them, Emily stood, pounding against the glass, her mouth moving in a desperate, silent plea. If you enjoyed this chilling tale, don't forget to like, comment, and share your thoughts. *Subscribe to Deep Epoch for more spine-tingling stories that will keep you up at night.